I'm going to count to 10, join in on 5. Backwards, obviously. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, cool.
We haven't done it backwards before.
We always do it backwards.
No, we always do it forwards.
No, we don't.
Believe me, I'm paying attention for the second half of it, and I know it's always 6, 7.
Is it?
8, 9, 10. Yeah.
Is that the first time I've done it backwards?
Yeah, you've thrown me. But I managed to hold on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah.
They usually go backwards when you're doing an anaesthetic.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone under general anaesthetic?
Yeah, I think I have, but not for so long I can't remember.
Me neither, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
But, no, I did actually in my early 20s. But I remember they do that. They count backwards from 10.
Yeah.
And you basically say 10 and then can't remember anything after that.
I know like for a joke last episode, I made a T-shirt, like a countdown T-shirt, like how we joked about it. And I just realised I made the countdown backwards on the T-shirt. And someone just tweeted me and said, oh, you got the countdown wrong. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And now I realise I did. I'm like...
Oh, I didn't see a countdown T-shirt. I saw a blank T-shirt about the axiom.
There was a countdown one as well, but I got it completely wrong, so I'm gonna withdraw it.
Wow.
So people...
Well, they're going to be rare.
I know. They're going to be like the inverted Jenny stamp. They're going to be like a collector's item.
That's right.
So hurry up and buy your backwards countdown Unmade podcast T-shirt because they're... I don't even know where that came from. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. This is like... I'm completely thrown now. Let's get on with the episode normally.
Well, no, I'm intrigued. What else have you been doing backwards, even just today or recently, that normally you'd be doing forwards? Like,
yeah.
Say your PIN number on your card, and we'll see if it's forwards.
All right.
Or backwards.
Yeah. Well, normally my PIN number is no. I don't know. Like, what a complete brain fade. You're right. Maybe I'm doing all sorts of stuff backwards. Maybe it's related to the fact I was just in America and had to drive on the other side of the road, and it's just flipped my brain.
Maybe. Anyway, it's time for a Patreon's idea. And, hang on a sec. No, that comes at the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're really thrown, I can tell. That's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so let's forget that. So, just a word of warning, Tim. I'm having some renovations done in the kitchen today, and my wife made it very clear that our kitchen being redone is more important than the Unmade podcast. So, I'm not allowed to ask for quiet or anything. So, if you hear any banging or drilling or hammering or, angle grinding, that's Brady's kitchen being fixed.
What kind of chefs have you got in there today, man?
Wow.
I mean, angle grinding. I mean, really.
It's like morning here, so I asked them to make dinner, and then I realised, hang on, it's my backwards weld again. Sorry.
They put the angle grinders away and got out the drill set instead. That's right.
I tell you what, if my mum was here and making Pavlova, they'd definitely need angle grinders. That's a fair joke. My mum's notorious for her bad cooking. She once made a Pavlova and it went really badly, so she threw it on the ground in disgust onto the hard floor, and it didn't break, it just bounced.
Oh, no. I wonder if everyone knows what a Pavlova is. Is that an Australian-centric or New Zealand-centric idea? Do people in the UK have Pavs?
Wow, we really are living in a backwards world. Tim is finally caring about people outside Australia, not knowing about Australianisms. That's a first. So anyway, if you hear any noise, apologies in advance. But, the show must go on. Can I suggest a podcast idea first? Basically, that's your idea. But I want to make sure we do it, because we were texting the other day about something, and it just made me think what a great idea it would be to have a podcast about Tim's life hacks and great ideas, because you told me about something you did at KFC that I thought was, showed that you're a deeper thinker than people may think.
Wow, man, that's quite the backhanded compliment there.
I don't know where the compliment part comes in, but yeah.
That's just a backhander.
Tell us about your post-football story and your advice for people out there in the world who may want to eat after a football game.
Yeah, no, look, it was Melbourne. I was over in Melbourne to watch my football team. This is Australian rules football team. Richmond are playing in a preliminary final, which is the one that gets them into the big grand final, right? And they won, and it was a night match, so it was the evening, and I went off and had a drink to celebrate, and it was wonderful. And I was walking through the city, and I thought, as I came across the Colonel, I just stop in to to say hello.
It'd be wrong to not have a KFC after a big win. Like, it was like a mark of respect.
Well, I felt like it was, if ever it was deserved, it was that night. And I didn't go looking for it. It just came upon my path, right?
You felt like you'd earned it, basically, for watching a game of football.
That's exactly right. Well, winning a game of football.
Right.
And, I mean, that had been a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And so I went in, and this is in a very dense inner city sort of area. So it's one of these sort of hole in the wall kind of places. And I go in, and it's packed with people, and there's a massive long line. I'm like, dear. And for just a moment, I thought, I'm not going to bother about this. I'm going to head off. And then I sort of brushed that sort of thought out of my mind very quickly.
That's not the kind of attitude that wins football games.
No, I'm not. Come on, Hein, you're better than this. Show a bit more determination. So I lined up, and there's a long line, but then I could see that alongside, like, this line was moving pretty quick, but I could see it was one of those deals where people were ordering quickly, but then they was having to step to the side with their receipt and wait for their order.
It was a phantom line.
I know. So it wasn't going that quick at all. They were just building up this big, body of people waiting. Yeah. So I thought, well, those will be the people that they're having to make things for. But when you're at the register taking people's payment, they are giving a few things to you. Like if things are available there, they're giving them to people straight away. And I thought, well, like, I'm here for the chicken, so I'm not going to be slowed down by any other sort of handbrake bits on the menu, like, chips or drinks or anything. So I thought I got up to the front and I thought, just 3 pieces of chicken. And I thought if I just ordered the chicken, there's a chance he'd go, oh, sure, turn around, get the chicken, hand it to me, because I could see the chicken there and I'd be off. Yeah. So I deliberately didn't order fries because I thought that they would slow me down.
You don't want unnecessary add-ons.
No. It's like, no napkin, no straws, no box even. Just give them to me here in my hand. Just hand them over.
They said to you, cash or card, and you said, which will be quicker?
That's right. Just deduct it from a bank. Invoice me, I'll pay you later. That's right.
We've all been guilty at a takeaway shop of getting to the counter and placing our order based on what we can see is readily available. Yeah,
just give me it.
Yeah, it's like...
So that was... Yeah,
what would you like to eat, sir? And you point and say, what's that? I'll have that thing. Did it work for you? Did you end up not having to wait? Did you skip,
No, I had to stand to the side and wait, which is... That's a long wait then. When you've delivered... Because you start going... I should have got a drink at least. About to eat a couple of pieces of chicken. I got no drink. And I could have got a drink. That wouldn't have been that much longer. He could have just turned to the fridge. In fact, I'd probably have the drink now while I'm waiting. But
you paid for your greed.
I did. So anyway, it finally came and I went and sat, down and I enjoyed it, It was...
You could do a whole podcast, Tim, just telling stories about KFCs I have had.
Well, if you're going to keep bringing them up, then I'm going to have stories for all of them.
Hang on a second. I am bringing this up based on a text conversation we had that you brought up.
Did I tell you that? Were we texting on the night? I don't remember.
I don't think we texted about the chips detail, but you did text me a picture of the KFC after the game.
Oh, yeah, because that was my way of telling you that we'd won. That's right.
That's your equivalent of the white smoke at the Vatican. I wonder who won.
That's exactly right.
I wonder who won the game. Tim texts a picture from KFC. Tim's team won, I can tell.
I know I texted you before I started eating, because once you start eating, it's physically impossible to text because your iPhone doesn't recognise.
Although Tim's got a special iPhone that only recognises his thumbprint when it's covered in KFC. You should have special ones scanned. I do. What would have happened if you'd lost McDonald's?
Well, I don't know. It was what I came across. I was just walking back through the city, so maybe I would have felt so bad or so disappointed that I would have had to have some consolation food. I don't know.
Do you have any other KFC hacks that we can use in life? Like,
KFC hacks. This is what your podcast is going to be called, Tim's KFC hacks. They're not body hacks. They're the opposite of body hacks. They're like ruin your body hacks.
Who would have thought there were so many like shortcuts and tricks to maximising your KFC experience? But
it is weird now that they don't when they give you the coleslaw, they don't put it in a bag of any kind. They just hand it to you. And so you're sort of, okay, well, I'm about to get a big bag full of all the other stuff, but then they just hand you, here you go. Like if this is for a family or a party or a big meal or something, it's just like, well, here I'm holding that in my hand. So you end up just handing that to the person next to you or sitting it on the chair. It's like, why doesn't that go in a bag? That's just there, bouncing around now.
I mean, Tim, this is thermodynamics. You don't want the cold of the coleslaw in the same place as the hot of the chicken. They'll be working at cross purposes.
Yeah.
The coleslaw will be cooling down the chicken will be heating up the coleslaw. It's science.
Yeah. And that would be, you want that contrast right there when you're engaging in the meal rather than in the in the bag in the car.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You're so wise on this stuff, man.
Wow.
I really
this would cover 3 episodes of KFC hacks, just this issue alone.
Do you have any KFC hacks or any great KFC stories? Actually, before you do that, I remember one that we had together. I was driving down south a few weeks ago, and I was coming back up through Morford Vale, which I haven't driven through for a very long time.
Right.
And you've got junk food junction or corner. What's it called there?
Where there's like a junk food shop on each corner of the junction. It's a magical place.
It's
It's basically Adelaide's Disneyland.
Anyway, do you remember one day we were coming back from the beach and we stopped in there to KFC and we just thought, like back then, the biggest thing you could order was like a $20 feast.
Right.
And it was just a ridiculous amount of food. And instead of ordering 2 separate meals for $4 each or something like that, which would have been perfectly adequate, we just go, let's just get the $20 feast. And we
push the boat out.
Do you remember this? We sat down. I think it even came with like a whole cheesecake as like a dessert, like a group party or something.
So it was for like 8 people or something, was it? And we just had it between us.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, basically you're asking me, do you remember a time that we ate way too much junk food? And my answer is both yes and no. I mean, that's just my teenage years. So, podcasts, ideas. How about this, Tim? Songs in the shower.
Ooh.
And this is recordings of people singing in showers. And I think ideally done surreptitiously, because I think it's more natural if people don't know they're being recorded.
Yeah.
So the challenge would be for people of the world to get recordings of other people singing in the shower, and then we all get to enjoy it.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. And then people come on and talk about why. Do they always sing that song? Is that the song that comes? Do they love?
What's your singing in the shower technique? What do you sing? Why do you sing? How do you sing? Because this I think singing in the shower is quite a shared human experience, but it is also different from person to person. So you must be someone who sings in the shower, surely. If I was going to bet on anyone singing in the shower, it would be you.
Oh, well, look, I do sing in the shower, but I sing everywhere. So I just sort of am forever having a song upon my lips. But I including in the shower.
Yeah. Do you is your shower singing different to your normal singing?
In style or in choice of material, or what do you?
In any way.
Or a choice of instrument. I don't have the guitar in the shower.
No. Do you pretend you're holding a microphone? Do you sing whole songs?
No.
Do you make up songs? Do you kind of just jam and freestyle and give it a bit of whoa yeah? Or do you sing specific lyrics of songs you know? Or what's your how does it work?
I just sing whatever comes out. It's unself-conscious. The song that often comes out is a song called Waterfall by the Stone Roses. I don't know why I sing that, but maybe it's because of the water. But often it's just whatever the last word I've heard, or if I wake up, because you often have a shower in the morning. Most showers. I have a shower every morning. I also have them at other times sometimes, but in the morning. So you sometimes just wake up singing a song, and that gets the full rendition. It gets to unfold to its potential in the shower with the water on the back of the head.
So you'll sing from start to finish, like from the start of the song to the end of the song, or you'll just do the chorus, or
I just do the catchy bit.
Catchy bit.
Just the chorus, really. Yeah.
And do you sing in every shower, or like 1 in 10, or?
I move around showers around the city, just trying them out for their acoustics.
No. No, every time you have a shower, do you sing, or do you only sometimes?
I guess I don't know because I'm not paying attention. I would imagine I would have imagine I would have a song going around in my mind, and it's whether I make it audible or not. Maybe depends on how cold it is or how happy I am, or you know what I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
I will always have a song going around in my head. I think I always do. Do you often have? Well, this is the song of the day, I guess, in my mind, and
I'll sometimes just sing fragments of a song in the shower. I sing to the dogs a lot. Dog. Well, I've only got one dog now, but I do sing to the dog a lot, and I'll change the words of the song to fit the dog. So like I might like say I was going to sing, Valerie or something, except I'd change it to Audrey.
Oh yeah.
Or if I'm just making up examples, but say I was singing I Will Always Love You by Celine Dion, I'd change it to I Will Always Love My Dog, or
oh yeah. Do you go get the dog and sit them down and say, I've got something prepared for you? Or is it more like you're walking?
Yeah, like a performance. No, it will more just be the dog happens to be in the corner, and I'll fire a song over.
I know what you mean. I do that too with the kids, but yeah.
Okay, right. So you'll change a song and put like their names in it or something and stuff like that. Yeah.
Which I think is really clever, but of course they're largely ignorant of the song, so they don't get how cleverly I've added their name into, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So one day that your girl's like listening to the radio and the song comes on and like it's someone else's name and they're really disappointed because they thought the song was about them.
That's right. That's right.
It's the meter maid was called Rita.
Yeah, that's right.
That's disappointing. I remember growing up, we had in our shower one of the tackiest items in the history of tackiness, which was called I think it was called something like the Great Aussie Shower Songbook. And it was a book that was like made of this waterproof material, and it was kind of like spongy and weird, and each page had the lyrics to like an Australian song, a real Australiana song. So there were classics like, Waltzing Matilda and Advance Australia Fair and Come On Aussie Come On, and there was a redback on the toilet seat and things like that. And I was young enough to think this was like a really cool novel thing. And I would sometimes like stand in the shower and sing the songs from the songbook, like reading the lyrics. And some of them I knew, like I knew Advance Australia Fair and Come On Aussie Come On and stuff like that. But there were songs in there that were classic Australian songs that I didn't know. Like at the time I didn't know the song There Was a Redback on the Toilet Seat. But it had really funny lyrics and interesting lyrics to me because it's all about going to the toilet and getting bitten by a spider that was hiding under the toilet seat. So I used to sing that song having never heard it before, which was quite interesting because I kind of made up the song. Like I made up how it went based on the lyrics.
Yeah.
I think when I finally heard it, my rendition was nothing like how it was supposed to go, but...
There was a redback on the toilet seat when I was there last night. I didn't see him in the dark, but boy, I felt his bite.
I remember that well.
Yeah. So this book, was it made of plastic, was it?
Yeah, it was kind of plasticky, but the pages were quite thick. Like, so there was like a hard sponge in them, and then they were covered in like a sort of a PVC plastic. Do you have memories of other people, shower singing? Did your parents sing in the shower? Do you remember when you were growing up, or?
No.
I'm surprised. I would have thought your dad might have been a shower singer.
No, Dad was more of a shower yeller.
Right.
You get told off from the shower.
How would he tell you off from the shower? How did he know you were doing things
Well, you're just getting in trouble, but he's in the shower yelling out, "What is it?" In his Dutch accent coming out. And you can kind of ignore it because there's something about them being in the shower that makes being told off just ridiculous, like utterly ridiculous.
How did he know you were doing
Well, obviously
wrong?
I've done something wrong.
But he's in the shower. How does he know that?
No, like done something wrong in the bathroom, like there's
Oh,
toilet paste left open, or you know what I mean, or
you've left the toothpaste.
Yeah, shampoo bottles left, with the lid off and it's all run. What is that? And I can just, and it sort of echoes around, it's that echoey sound, but it's all contained. And because he's got this Dutch accent, you can't really tell what's going on. So a little bit later, my mum, you'd hear the door and she'd go, "What are you saying, Jerry?" Like there to be. Yeah, that's it.
Maybe that's just what Dutch songs sound like.
Just someone telling someone off.
Yeah. All these years you thought he was telling you off and he was singing some Dutch hymn.
A Dutch beautiful song called "Why Have You Done That Again?"
I think it would be a very fun podcast to listen to, people's recordings of other people singing in the shower.
It would be. The great thing is to record it. Some people have radios in their shower, don't they? Like waterproof radios, so they can actually listen to the radio and then they can sing along with it, which is kind of cheating a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's not right. I tell you what, I can't believe we haven't brought up, because it never takes us long to move on to the topic of Australian TV advertisements. Probably one of the most iconic TV advertisements of our childhood was the Decoré one, where everyone's singing in the shower.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was famous, wasn't it? I remember being on a youth camp and like on performance night, skit night, the Saturday night, some people doing a whole skit based around singing that particular advert. You know what I mean? It was sort of classic and everyone knew that they were doing it. It was really funny.
So for people who don't know, which is almost everyone, there was a famous Australian TV ad for a hair shampoo called Decoré. As I shampoo my hair, I really love new Decoré. And they took the song Duke of Earl and they had people like miming it in the shower while washing their hair, but instead of singing Duke of Earl, they were singing Decoré. And
is that a song, Duke of Earl? I don't know what I've never heard that before.
The Decoré ad is just a reworking of the song Duke of Earl.
As I walk through this world, nothing can stop a Duke of Earl.
Did you know that at the time?
Probably not straight away because I was just a kid, but later on when I heard...
Your parents were baby boomers, so they sort of knew...
It's more a case of just like later in life I heard the song Duke of Earl, which is a famous song, and I thought, oh, that sounds like the Decoré ad. Oh, hang on, yeah, that's where the Decoré ad comes from. Just like the ad for Bob Moran car dealership. I knew before I knew the song Barbara Ann. It used to be Bob Moran sells your cars. And I didn't know that was based on Barbara Ann. And then one day I heard Barbara Ann and I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Your trading could have you in a quality Bob Moran car sooner than you think. And it could be worth more than you think at Bob Moran Cars, Ranella or Medindi.
Yeah. I do remember finding that out, realising that and thinking, oh, that's quite clever. Duke of Earl? Mm-hmm. I don't even know that song now. Do you know who it's by?
It's a very old song. Duke of Earl, a 1962 US #1 song, originally by Gene Chandler, and it goes, Duke of Earl, Duke of Earl, like that. 'Cause I'm the Duke of Earl.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's very good. Whereas the Decoré one went.
New Decoré, the family shampoo.
Singing in the shower. Why is it such a thing? It's a place where we're, in a funny way, we should be more self-conscious, but we're less self-conscious. So people feel free to sing. It's private. It's fantastic in the shower, isn't it? It's hot, it's warm.
Oh, I love
pleasant.
it. I have very long showers. The shower's my favourite place to be. It's where I have all my thinking time. How long do you spend in the shower?
I like a long shower. It's not extraordinarily long. My family members, my daughters in particular, have unbelievably long showers, but I don't have them that long. But but longer than I need to. Like I'm aware, okay, I've done core business now, but I'm just going to hang around for a little while.
That sounds a bit sinister. I've done core business.
Well, I've done all the cleaning jobs. Okay, I don't need to do the hair today.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The soap situation's all taken care of.
Yeah.
But, oh, gosh, this is great. And you turn up the hot just a little bit more. Oh, that's great. I like that. On the back of the neck. My dad, just speaking of him again, he was unbelievably short. And it might be something to do with his generation and saving water, but he was in and out, like a flash. Astonishing. Yeah. He was always talking about how Mum and I took a long time in the shower. But as a kid, I remember singing the Punky Brewster theme song for some reason in the shower.
Maybe the world is blind.
Or just a little
unkind. Don't know.
I really loved that song. It really moved me at the time. I remember singing that, and I distinctly remember in Traralgon singing that in the shower.
They were so meaningful, the songs to TV show. Had different strokes, man. What a life message that was.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Oh, and I tell you what, I watched a couple of episodes this week. I was prompted, when we were talking about Seinfeld the other week, and you were contrasting its sort of cold heart, you said, to nicer programs, kinder programs like Cheers. And I was like, yeah, Cheers is great, isn't it? I went back and watched an old episode of Cheers, which that has a fantastic theme song. And it's just, it's so heartwarming and it's kind and encouraging. And all the storylines are like that. It does have a really warm heart, Cheers.
Yeah.
It's really lovely.
Yeah.
But, yeah, lovely song. And it's become a classic, hasn't it? It's become an axiom in itself.
What, the Cheers song?
Where everyone knows. Yeah, where everyone knows your name.
Yeah.
You want to be where everybody knows your name.
So, Tim, it's our good friends at Hover. They're back, Hover.
Oh, welcome back, Hover. They obviously didn't appreciate the dip in sales, and so they've come back to the Unpaid podcast after a couple of episodes.
The Unpaid podcast.
Is that what I said?
I don't know.
The Unmade podcast.
Tim, tell people what Hover is.
Hover is the place to go. The place to go to buy domains for websites. And they have a whole variety, not just the word you want, but all sorts of like additional derivatives of the word you want.
I was going to say they also have words you don't want.
That's right.
Well, that's not very useful, is it?
That's right.
So if there's something you don't want, Hover's the place to go.
They have words you want, like Nike.com. Nike.com not included.
Yes. Hover is the brilliant place to go for registering domain names. They also have all the suffixes besides .com and .net. Any .anything you can think of that's allowed, they'll have.
When you say allowed by whom?
There's an official organisation that decides what the suffixes are. You can't just have .anything. Like, they have to be, like, approved before they become one.
What's this, like an internet head office? Like,
Yeah, there is an organisation that oversees it all.
who appointed them?
Me. No, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. They just exist. You know, there's an organisation that runs the show, oversees things, you know?
Yeah, but that's funny. But the internet isn't owned by anyone in particular.
We're not allowed to talk about it, Tim. It's the Illuminati.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't take the hint.
No. There are organisations like this ICANN and all these sort of things, and I don't know which one particularly oversees that. It might be ICANN for all I know. I don't know. Don't worry, Tim. It's looked after. And Hover know. That's what matters. It doesn't matter that we don't know, as long as Hover
Well,
knows.
they know. That's right. Yep. We just we go to Hover, and Hover's the middleman. They deal with them.
They know all that. They know all this. They know the answers to this stuff we don't know. I use Hover to register loads of domain names. Seriously, this isn't because they're sponsoring the show. It's a really good service, a really clean, easy to use website. Usually registering domain names can be really complicated. It's not with Hover. And there's also a deal that you can get 10% off your first purchase with Hover if you go to hover.com/unmade, or you can use the promo code unmade, hover.com/unmade. Check them out. I think once you go to it once, you'll realise how good it is and you'll never look back. So thank you, Hover, for sponsoring the show. And you can still use our extra URL to go to Hover, which is timhine.ninja. That is still available.
That's right. If anyone wants to buy that, by the way, they can contact me.
Yeah, okay.
Well, my plan for tonight is this. I have a list of 5 ideas in front of me that I'm not going to use. I've taken off my glasses and I've closed my eyes. Yeah. I'm going to come up with an idea right now.
Whoa. Live.
I'm clearing my mind.
This is some extreme podcasting, people. Stand back.
It is. It is. I'm sort of rubbing my temples in a circular direction, thinking I'm about to start. I'm not started thinking yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to need something to spark my thinking, man. So when I count to 3, right, that I want you to just say a word, and I'm going to use that as a jumping point.
Okay. Yep.
3, 2, 1. Sorry, that's just for you, man. 1, 2, 3.
Rice bubbles.
Oh, okay. Favorite breakfast cereals.
Yeah.
Now, I tell you, breakfast cereals have become huge lately. I saw this on a show the other day. Where was it?
Hang on a second. I feel like I've just had the idea for your podcast. Basically, you said on the count of 3, I want you to give me a podcast idea.
Well, I'm more of a life coach, podcast coach. I knew you could do it, man. I believed in you.
Breakfast cereals have become a big thing.
I saw it. Well, a big thing. I mean, they've been a big thing for about 50 years, but they seem to have caught on. But I saw a breakfast cereal restaurant. This is have you heard of this? This is in London somewhere.
No.
And people can go and they import from America in particular, you know, like Captain Crunch and all these crazy breakfast cereals that we see in movies they don't even have in Australia or anywhere. These ridiculous sort of, you know, configured sugar, solidified sugar really. But with all these brands and themes and novelty and so forth, and you can come in and you pay for a bowl and choose from all this stuff and you get a bowl of the breakfast cereal.
Nice.
I think that's how it works. Or maybe you're buying the breakfast cereal, you know what I mean? Because once you open a pack, that's pretty hard to, I guess they could close it again. But yeah, this is you've not heard of this?
I have not been to this restaurant, but I like the sound of it. I am a big fan of breakfast cereals.
Did you say rice bubbles because you have just had rice bubbles or they're in front of you?
No, I haven't had. In fact, in the UK, they're not even called rice bubbles. They're called Rice Krispies. But no, I don't know. Actually, the word I thought of was rice. And then I thought rice wasn't interesting enough, so I changed it to rice bubbles.
Rice would have given me more places to go, I guess.
You think so? Yeah. Well,
you couldn't have had rice. You couldn't have had rice bubbles in front of you because the snap, crackle, and pop would have been picked up on the microphone.
Oh, it would have been chaos. Would have been chaos.
I wouldn't have been able to hear you.
Yeah. Do you think they sound like snap, crackle, and pop? The sound rice bubbles make? I don't think it does. It just sounds like.
I haven't listened to them since I was a kid, but when I was a kid, I was pretty sure they did sound like that. So maybe they've changed the tone.
I think it's a new recipe. Yeah. So just so I'm clear, your idea is my favourite breakfast cereal.
I guess so. Yeah. Do you have? Let's see if it works. Do you have a favourite breakfast cereal?
That's like asking me to pick my favourite child. Considering I don't have children, that's quite easy. But yeah, I like many breakfast cereals.
Do you have a lot in the house? Do you have like a bookcase with them?
No,
with their spines out.
My wife's quite health conscious, and I get shamed if I bought the breakfast cereals I really wanted to buy. You know, I wouldn't be able to handle the shame. So I like Crunchy Nut cornflakes a lot.
Crunchy Nut cornflakes.
They're the honey ones, you know, honey Crunchy Nut cornflakes.
So these are Kellogg's cornflakes, but they've got extra crunchy.
They're glazed with a bit of honey and little fine bits of nut. I also like Special K a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I do like a lot of the American ones, like Cinnamon Grahams and things like that.
I haven't had many of those. I had a really nice muesli sort of thing at a mate's place in America, but I've not had many other cereals over there.
They do have the best cereals over there.
I'm a big fan of Sultana Bran. I think Sultana Bran is probably my favourite. I love the feeling of the Sultana.
That's a good solid one.
I was staying at a place the other day that provided breakfast. When I was in Melbourne at the footy and so forth, they had breakfast. And I just on a whim decided to have Weet-Bix. They had Weet-Bix there.
Yeah.
And I haven't had Weet-Bix for years.
In the UK, that's called Weetabix, but yep.
Oh, right, okay.
And it is slightly different. Weet-Bix is different from Weetabix, slightly.
They made me feel very full for a long time, like in a, clogged kind of way.
Clogged,
for a while.
You sure that wasn't all that KFC you ate with your hands the night before?
No, I'm sure it wasn't. The gold standard of like dream. Actually, there were two when I was young of ones that I would dream for when I was a kid. One was Cocoa Pops, which is amazing, just like a chocolate milkshake, only crunchy.
Cocoa Pops is like the Christmas of breakfast cereals. It's like
the Christmas.
It's like special and amazing, but just too rare that you're allowed to have it. Like,
yeah. The other one was Fruit Loops. I couldn't believe it when Mum bought me Fruit Loops, and I think I was about 16 before she relented and bought me some.
I refuse to believe there's a whole lot of fruit in Fruit Loops.
It's all loops and no fruit, that's for sure.
And they're not even coloured like fruit. It's just like weirdly coloured sugar.
It's like a pack of like Texture lids. Like it's it's all colours like Texture colours.
And it had that toucan. Who was like there? Is it Sam Toucan? It had that toucan bird that was its mascot. It never really made any sense to me.
Yeah.
It was a real oddball Fruit Loops, but it was like a bit of a holy grail. I was never allowed to have it because it was notorious for being the most sugary and unhealthy of all the cereals. So your parents didn't buy it. It became like the
crack.
It was like it was the pin-up for bad cereals. So that was the one your parents wouldn't let you have, even if you were allowed to have Cocoa Pops. Like, your parents wouldn't buy you Fruit Loops because it was like, that was them showing they were good parents by not buying Fruit Loops.
That's right.
I didn't have Fruit Loops till I was an adult.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I remember having them for the first time thinking, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm finally having Fruit Loops. Like, they're real. It's like you've seen them on TV. And then it's like, here they are.
Were they as good as you hoped?
I remember thinking they were smaller than I thought.
Yeah.
The little loops. But of course you see them close up on the screen, the TV. So
you thought they were going to be the size of like tyres.
That's right. And then you eat them and then they're gone. And then you're like, well. Yeah,
that's what happens with food.
Did you ever have those? Remember they used to get them in little box, like 10 different boxes of variety box?
Yeah, family variety packs, yeah. And you would argue over who got to eat the yummy ones and who had to eat like the boring healthy ones.
And there was never enough in them.
No. I always associate those variety packs with camping. Whenever we went camping, Dad would buy a couple of those variety packs. And the good thing was that was the sneaky way you got to eat the cereals you would never get at home.
Yeah.
Because the variety pack would have one or two of those exotic sugary ones along with your more healthy ones. What cereals are on the hind shelves at home at the moment?
There's only one, and it's Rice Bubbles.
Oh,
yeah.
I called it.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing you said that. Yeah, I was looking.
You said you hadn't listened to the Snap Crackle Pop for years, but you've got Rice Bubbles in the house.
Yeah, but I don't eat them, and
Oh, right. What do you eat
for breakfast?
Yeah.
I have eggs.
All right.
I have eggs just about every morning, really. I have a couple of eggs on toast or a bit of egg and bacon. I don't have bacon very much anymore, though.
Yeah.
Or a couple of eggs in an egg cup. I just love eggs. Or if I'm in a rush, I'll just have a piece of toast or something. But I'll never have a bowl of cereal. The only time I'd have cereal is in, like late in the afternoon or as an evening is like a fun, I feel like a bowl of cereal. But then went and had a look, which I did that very thing yesterday afternoon thinking, I'll go and have a bowl of cereal. But we had Rice Bubbles and I wasn't interested.
Oh, so. How could you not be interested in Rice Bubbles? They're awesome.
I know that they're a basis of a whole podcast idea, but I don't find them particularly interesting. If I knew you were going to mention it, I would have eaten some.
Would have been good research.
That's right.
Oh, I love Rice Bubbles. I'd have a bowl of Rice Bubbles right now.
I wonder if you can get the sound. Oh, I wonder if they're on What's the other company called that we're promoting?
Storyblocks.
Storyblocks, that's right.
That's why they paid Tim the big bucks.
You might want to cut that, yeah. I wonder if they have rice bubbles on Storyblocks and we can get the sound, the snap, crackle and pop.
Well, why don't we do our Storyblocks ad now then? Lovely segue. This episode has also been brought to you by Storyblocks, the providers of stock footage, video, After Effects templates, all that kind of stuff that you could need for your own video creations or web creations or whatever you're making. Whatever you're after, Storyblocks is almost certainly going to have it. Download it royalty-free, put it in your projects. I use them. I think they're really cool. Go to storyblocks.com/unmade. That's storyblocks.com/unmade and check out their epic library of video footage and stuff that you can mine and put into your own creations. I'm going to have a look right now and see what breakfast cereal stock footage they have. All right, I'm logged in, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether to put rice bubbles because I don't know what rice bubbles are called. They have a lot of video of people eating breakfast cereal, pouring cornflakes into bowls. Oh, they've got some lovely Cocoa Pops here.
Yeah.
So the first video result that comes up for breakfast cereal is like a tired man in a white t-shirt in the morning looking all sleepy with a big bowl of cereal in front of him.
What's the cereal? Can you tell?
Yes, it's like bran flakes.
Right.
And while he's eating his bran flakes, he's looking through social media on his phone.
Oh, that's a no-no. You need to give the cereal the full attention.
Well, this is the reality of life, that social media is even interrupting our... I'll look up cornflakes. They'll have cornflakes, won't they? Oh, yeah, they've got oodles of results for cornflakes. Load more, that's how many they've got. They've got pages and pages of videos of people eating cornflakes.
Well, there you go.
So if you were making a film about breakfast and breakfast cereals, or a podcast about breakfast cereals for that matter, and you needed footage to go with it, do you know where you'd go? Where would you go, Tim?
Storyblocks.
Yes. More specifically, you would go to storyblocks.com/unmade.
Oh, yeah. Storyblocks.com/unmade.
Correct.
Thank you, Storyblocks. I've just come into my office, I'm recording at my office tonight because I had to come in and get some books.
Yeah.
And when I walked in, I've been on leave and stuff, and I've come in and my monitor's gone.
Yeah.
And instead, there's a very old Apple Mac computer, like from the early 80s. It's called an Apple Mac SE is sitting here, and it's like, it's so old, it's gone all yellow and stained and stuff. It's, if there's someone's played a joke and got rid of my normal monitor and put this here, and...
Yeah. Oh, this is a gag. It's not like...
Yeah.
Yeah. Office
Yeah,
humor.
it's not like a new IT rollout or anything.
Let me go into our cave of mysteries where all our Patreon ideas are. So people who support us on Patreon, you know how much we love you. Anyone can do it. Go to patreon.com/unmadefm. You can just chip in $1 here or there. It really helps. You will go onto our wall of thanks on the website, which is a big long list of names of people who support us. There are a few other goodies that occasionally become available via the Patreon feed. Plus, you're eligible to send in ideas that may be read out on the show, such as this idea from... I'm going to give you a choice, Tim. Do you want an idea from Greg or Mark or Moses?
Oh, I can't walk past Moses.
I knew you. The minute I said Moses, I thought, there we go. That's sorted. As always, I haven't read this in advance, so I can't vouch for what's going to happen here. So, here we go. Hi, Tim and Brady. My name is Moses, and I currently live in... You can guess where this person lives, Tim.
Well, Egypt.
I currently live on Mount Sinai. No.
Oh, Canada.
Yes. I currently live in Kingston, Canada. You Canadians, you're so good to us here at Unmade.
Yeah.
My job requires a lot of moving around. He'd prefer we don't say what it is on the podcast. So, take your guess. But that means his 3-hour trips to Toronto is the perfect time to listen to the podcast. I have majored in mathematics, which has got me thinking of a podcast idea. Clearly, he's a code breaker. Many of my classes were not particularly captivating. I loved game theory but found group theory quite dry. Mixed with a university student's habit of staying up late, I would sometimes fall asleep in class. The cycle is hard to break since when you should sleep, you lay awake for hours with a mind that is buzzing. On the other hand, it's easy to doze off, even when the professor doesn't seem interested in the subject. This brings me to my idea, which could be titled Counting Sheep. Here, the narrator would talk about math subjects, but in a purposely boring way. They could go off topic or on uninteresting tangents. It would be factually correct so people could theoretically learn from it, but more likely people would use it as a sleeping aid. Since there's a plethora of topics, it would be impossible to run out of episode ideas. Entire series could be made in a subject like economics alone. There is a podcast similar to this named Sleep With Me, but I find the narrator talks about subjects I do have some interest in, such as Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, so it's hard to not pay attention. Love the show. From Moses.
You know, I've thought of this before, the idea of a podcast designed just to put you to sleep, but it can't talk about sleep and it can't sound like it's trying to put you to sleep because that just makes you self-conscious about it. It just needs to talk about something interesting enough that you don't think about something else, but boring enough to actually put you to sleep. That's very good. Because a lot of people, I think, use a podcast from time to time to help them get to sleep if they can't.
My wife's got one that she uses. Like I go to sleep to podcasts quite often, but my wife's got an app, one of these apps to help you go to sleep. And they do read you articles that relax you to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And they're usually travel stories like, this is what it's like to travel on the Trans-Siberian Railway or cruise down the Nile.
Oh, yeah.
And they're written by professional writers. And they're just descriptive things, the grassy green plains rolled by like a whatever. And they are incredibly boring.
Oh, right.
But it feels like the person writing them is really like trying hard to be super descriptive and clever with their use of words. And they use way too many, adjectives. And I often wonder about the people who've written them. Like, did they realise they were writing something that was supposed to be so boring? Or, like, when they were paid money, like someone said, can we use your article about the Trans-Siberian Railway?
Oh, right.
Like, did they think, of course you can, it's brilliant, not realising it was being picked because it was just so far up its own butt that it was really sleep-inducing?
Yeah.
I don't know how it came to be.
I'm a published author. Where is your work? Yes.
They're mind-numbing in such a clever way. But you can't figure out why. They're just like mind-numbingly pretentious in the way they're written, and they're used to help put people to sleep.
Have you tried to use one to go to sleep, or did it work with you, or?
They don't really work with me.
Is that she's taken with the place? Like, oh, lovely, I'm on this railway.
No, she likes the voice, the reading voice. They're read by people with very lovely voices. And that helps put her to sleep. I don't think she never makes it more than 3 or 4 sentences in, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She just likes, she's like, I love this guy's voice, and she'll put it on it. And then she'll fall asleep, and I'll be stuck listening to some writer getting lost in their own world of self-importance, talking about the azure blue skies over the, it's like, for goodness sake.
You could be listening to breakfast cereals now. This would be much better.
Exactly. So I have to say, Moses, I think Moses's idea is not super original. In fact, there are a billion. I mean, when he wrote it, maybe it was a bit more original because he did send this in last year. But
right.
But it's like it is an older email. But I like the idea of doing it with mathematics, though. Like that's his unique selling point, and I do like that. Like, because listening to mathematicians, I've sat through some pretty advanced math lectures that I just had to sit through because of my number file job, and I had no idea what was being talked about for like an hour from the first sentence to the last sentence. It was like completely baffling to me. It may as well have been in another language. So, and I can imagine that would be quite good for sleep. So recording some of those lectures. For the people in the audience, I'm sure it was fantastic, but for me it was like, what? So that would put me to sleep.
This is a good idea in the sense that I think we need a whole palette of these. There's not like, there's one sleeping podcast and so everyone's going to find it really helpful.
Yeah, because one person's like sleep-inducing podcast is another person's captivating keep me awake podcast. So you're right. You need a full suite.
You need a podcast that's interesting for 10 seconds and then gradually becomes more dull over the next 20 or 30 seconds and then, becomes totally boring. That's what you need. Something.
Is there a topic you find kind of invariably dull?
Oh, I guess there's lots of things that I find pretty dull. I mean, things that are not close to my point of interest, I guess.
Yeah. What's something I talk about that will always bore you?
You know a lot about areas of which I know very little, but I find them fascinating when you talk about them, which is part of your skill and gift, actually. You've got that journalistic sense of, you're like a teacher in a way. You love explaining things. So
I'm just a good bullcrapper.
No, because I've sat in with you recording some episodes of different YouTube clips and stuff. I've been there in the background and I can see the dialogue going in, what they're talking about, because you're, in one case, correcting and that's pretty amazing. And I'm...
No, Professor, that's incorrect. Let me help you with that proof.
No, there was just not. You know what I mean. Like, you obviously know what's going on because you have to as an interviewer. You can't bullcrap at that level. But having said that, I couldn't go away and make 10 videos about them. Like, that would bore me. That would bore me. But I find them elegant at a distance.
I'm trying to figure out what's boring to you. What's something like what's the content that's going to be on your phone that will put you to sleep? What's the subject being talked about that will most guarantee you going to sleep?
But that's different. I don't think it.
Okay.
That will just make me switch off and think about something else. If it's too boring, you dismiss it straight away. You know what I mean? Like what are things that I don't enjoy? Like I find. We've talked about these sorts of things before. I don't know, reality television things, Marvel movies. I guess nature. We've talked about this as well. Like, my wife would happily listen to nature documentaries, and I like watching nature documentaries, but she listens to podcasts about gardening and all that kind of stuff, and that doesn't do anything for me particularly.
Just the way you said gardening was like so dismissive.
It's funny, I spent my childhood in the garden doing stuff with Dad and all that, but I don't know, I kind of feel like I've done it. Like, yep, did my time there. That's great. It's good. It's actually enjoyable to do, but I don't ever think about it if it's not there to be done.
Gardening.
I guess there are sports that you don't care about.
Yeah.
Rugby league.
Oh, yeah. Rugby league's a bit
Can't get
boring.
my head.
Yeah.
Oh, just naming 2 teams in a row just makes you want to switch.
Sorry, I stopped listening when you said rugby league. That could be a podcast, just someone like reading out the current rugby league tables.
Just this week, the Manly Sea Eagles or the Manly, then the Balmain.
Cronulla and St. George.
Cronulla.
Canterbury.
Cronulla. You just say the word Cronulla and you fall asleep. That's right. That's just totally provincial, isn't it? That's just totally... I just have no interest in it.
No, rugby league is a rubbish sport. Rugby union is a good sport. Rugby league is a rubbish sport.
That's true. Is rugby league an Australian invention, or is the league... Like, is that an
I
adaptation?
don't know. They do play it elsewhere. They play rugby league in England and New Zealand, so I would have thought it started in England, but I don't know.
There's a variation on union.
Yeah, it's a variation, and they've just made it rubbish. Rugby league is a rubbish sport, and I love all sport.
The other thing that I find annoying is that the advertising is so massive on their shirts. They look like, Clive James' observation of Grand Prix racing was that it was cigarette packets, driving around a racing track. And rugby league's a bit the same. It's a bit like cigarette packets, although they don't have cigarette advertising, but, the equivalent running down a field. And that comes on, when you watch the ABC over here, which is, the public broadcaster, they always have a bit of rugby league in the sport news bit, and you just, it's time to
nod off.
What about you? What do you find boring? What do you find dull?
What do I find boring? There's not much that I find boring. Poetry.
Oh, really? I
think poetry's overrated, and I cannot get into poetry. And someone will say, "Oh, look at this poem, isn't it lovely?" And I'll read it, and I'll think, "No, I'm not into poetry." There you go. Yeah, a podcast of poetry would send me to sleep. If it doesn't rhyme, it's not poetry.
That's right. I've been on a bit of a curve with poetry. When I was young and earnest, I, kind of it's almost like I really wanted to be into it. And I guess it comes a little bit from Dead Poet Society and being a teenager. And,
it's just you think it looks cool and you think it appeals to girls.
Yeah. It's just like this is, part of my bohemian vision of myself.
Yeah.
And then, but if, truth be told, it's not like we learnt too much poetry at school or exposed to too much, bits and pieces, but, it's not like we got to, was steeped in great poetry that just intoxicated our minds or anything. So most of the time, though, of course, you know a lot of poetry because you know a lot of song lyrics. And so you suddenly realise, oh, hang on a sec, I do these... you're surrounded by them and you enjoy them. So, but then I was largely indifferent for a long time thinking. But over the years, probably because a couple of offices down from me is someone who loves poetry and is forever sharing it and so forth. And because I've come to see even touching in areas like theology and philosophy a little bit, I've engaged with poetry again because it's a way of saying something that's said more richly and beautifully and accurately even, or truthfully, than didactically, than just, saying something in a non-fiction didactic way. Saying it poetically is a richer way. So,
oh, sorry, you have made my point beautifully. That last 2 minutes of podcasting by you, seriously, is two of the most boring minutes I've ever heard in my life. And that's just you talking about poetry.
Maybe you like poetry, you just don't like me talking about poetry.
I'll tell you what, Tim, I appreciate someone who has great command of words and is clever with words. Hamilton, the musical, which I've seen many times now, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is a bloody genius, and what he does with words in that is really clever, like hardly a wasted word. And there are other examples of writing where I think, wow, like I envy people's ability with this word. But when I read poems that people tell me are incredible, and then I read them, I look at it and I go, it didn't move me. I'm not impressed by it. Like, I don't know, the genius of poetry, and I acknowledge it must be genius because everyone tells me so, but the genius of a good poet is lost on me, and I'm rarely moved by poetry. There's the odd poem I think's pretty good, but nah, just doesn't move the needle for me. It's my rugby league. The rugby league is my rugby league. Poetry is more my poetry.
That's the first time the words poetry and rugby league have been used in the same sentence, that's for sure.
What do poetry and rugby league have in common?
There's that classic moment in that Mr. Bean episode where I love where he's trying to get to sleep and he pulls out his chart of sheep and starts counting them, and it's not working for him. So he gets out his calculator and he adds up across the top horizontally and down the side vertically, and then multiplies it on his calculator, looks at the result, and then falls dead asleep. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. My favourite counting sheep moment was in Sesame Street when Bert and Ernie were counting. One of them was counting sheep to go to sleep, and the other one could hear the sheep that he was counting, like in his dream kind of state, and just keeping him awake, and they fell out. And then in the end, he starts counting fire engines or something, and then it drives the other one crazy.
That would be Ernie driving Bert crazy, trying to get to sleep.
Which one's the one with? So is Ernie the one with the rounder head, and Bert has the long narrow head, right?
Yeah. Bert's like the banana shape.
Which one who would be Bert and Ernie out of us?
Oh, you're definitely Bert. Like you're definitely
what?
For years. More for a couple of reasons. One is I have like a rounder head, so I'm more Ernie-like. Although, so that's one thing. But also you're the stern one. Like whenever we're together, you're always stern about things that are going to happen, and you have, no, yes, that's going to happen.
You think I'm a stern person? You think I'm stern?
I think you can be a stern person. Yeah. You're not always stern. You're not stern now, for instance.
Yeah.
But as soon as we finish recording, you'll say, right, save the file. Like you'll become very stern. Do this. Click there, send it over.
All right. Well,
can I just say I love Bert and Ernie so much. I think Ernie in particular is just the most wonderful character. He's just...
Oh, the one you associate with yourself, right? Yep, okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Moses. Thank you for being a Patreon. And thank you, man.
And yes, to patreon.com/unmadefm. Please, because we need to kind of up our Patreon game a bit to be able to keep making the episodes. So do consider it. If you're someone who uses Patreon, do consider it. Or otherwise you can buy a T-shirt. You could buy one of our inverted Jenny mistake T-shirts.
Yes.
While they're still available. But yeah, thanks for your support. But the most important thing to do is keep listening and tell your friends about the podcast and, all that kind of stuff. All right, Tim. Save. Stop.
All right, I'm on it.
It's time now to be serious.